Hi, everyone. This is Christine Clifton with Mindful Business Matters. And I'm really happy that you decided to step in for Busting the BS, my free class today. Many people registered to get the recording later, but if you're here live, welcome, welcome, welcome as well. And I'm going to give you, as many of you know, I give background, and then I give experience, and then I'll give tools. So that's roughly how the class will go today. I always overplan, but I think it's going to be about 30 minutes of content today, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. So this is the recording part, and then when we get to the Q&A, I turn off the recording so that your questions are private and not broadcasted out for future use on this video. So jot down your questions as you go, and then you can ask them at the end once I turn the recording off. So again, I'm Christine Clifton with Mindful Business Matters. And those of you who follow me know that I'm all about connection to yourself, to source, and to service. So whether you're a soul-powered entrepreneur or a soul-powered professional, if you believe that there's a higher power at play in your life and work, whether you call that God, the universe, Bob, or tree, as my friend Jen would say, it doesn't matter. If you believe in that, then that's what I'm all about, is being more of you, your authentic self, as you move through your journey. So today's class around busting the BS, I did a tweet. I don't tweet very often, but when I did a tweet about this class, I said that the BS, or belief system, is the iOS, which most of you know of Apple iPhones. The iOS is the operating system. So your belief systems are the operating system of your human being. And so there's a saying that I've heard and I use a lot, which is how you do anything is how you do everything. And there are two components at play that I'm going to flesh out in a minute. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder of Mindful Business Matters. I also wrote two books. One is a guidebook called Your Spirit at Work, Bring More of You Through What You Do, so your vision comes true. And then I also wrote a book called You Don't Have to Shout to Stand Out, and that's all about having networking conversations that connect and convert. So as you can see, I am all about connection. And while on the surface, I'm about business, whether you work for one or whether you own one, but our inner self is that operating system that compels us, that causes us to move through life and make the choices that we do. So one of the things I like to say is that some of that how you do anything is how you do everything is part DNA, or your wiring, your natural wiring, your style, your preference, and the other part is BS or belief systems, which can be changed. And I don't want to mistake, I'm going to talk about this a little later, I don't want to mistake or confuse belief systems with core values, because your core values are usually pretty consistent throughout your life. What matters to you is pretty consistent, though of course it can shift a little bit. Belief systems are things that we've adopted, either by choice or by chance or by circumstance, that we now use as our navigating principles in life. So I'll give you some of my personal examples. So most of you know I don't see myself as a spiritual teacher. I would like to share experience, and I can share the most strongly from my own experience. I will give you a client example or two so that you can see how it works in other people's lives. But belief system work is so personalized, it's hard to actually teach a class on it, because it's easier to get to the bottom of a belief system when I am interacting dynamically with my client. So I'll do my best to present the parameters, the facets, the learning around BS or belief systems, and then I'll give these examples. But know that getting to the bottom of a belief system is best done when you've got somebody on the outside looking in who's holding that sacred space for you as you explore your own belief systems. And the thing is that we don't often sit down and say, why do I believe what I believe? We might make a position statement about something that we believe, like popcorn is the best snack food on the planet. For me, it is. But we often don't go behind that and go, why is that the case? And that's where we can get to the bottom of those belief systems. So know that I can give you so much in a class like this, but that it really helps to have somebody who holds that sacred space for you as you explore. And so if you were to think about who that could be for you, you want to think about someone who is really curious, who is willing and able to answer questions or ask questions so you can answer them, but also somebody who isn't judgmental about what might come out of your mouth, because that is really what sacred space is somebody who goes like, oh, look at that, let's look at that further, who can just hold hands with you and say, let's take a look at it. So whether it's a dear friend, whether it's your current coach or a consultant, again, I do this work with my clients. Find someone who can create that space for you, and you might even be able to reciprocate for them. Okay, so that's the foundation that I wanted to give here. So how do you determine then if it's a belief system or your DNA? Again, that's hard to say exactly without having me look at what's coming up for you right there. But the DNA piece I want to speak to. So your wiring, which isn't a belief system, but your wiring really comes, I like to ask the question, I can't help but, right? So when you think about in your life, I can't help but do fill in the blank. So for me, it's I can't help but connect. Connect people to people, connect people to resources, connect people to opportunities. I do this in my sleep. I do it unintentionally. I will come across things on behalf of my clients that I have to send off to them, which is why my programs and interactions with my clients include ongoing access to me. Because if I'm surfing through Facebook or I'm reading an article and I go, oh my gosh, my client needs this, they're going to hear from me in between sessions. So that's something that I can't help but do. So when you think about what your wiring or your preferences are, that's a good question to start with, is I can't help but do this. Like, this is just part of who I am. The other question you might ask yourself is the question around core values. So what is it that you value? For me, I value accessibility. Okay, so again, remember I told you that I'm not a spiritual teacher per se. I much would rather share from a place of experience. So I'm going to give you a lot of my own experiences in this today. So my experience is that I value accessibility. And so when I was contemplating a move to Virginia, and now I've ended up in North Carolina, again, I'm going to give you guys a little view of where I'm living. Do you see the marina out there? I manifested this for myself, but now I'm in North Carolina on the shore. And so I knew that the cost of living between New Jersey and Virginia at the time, and now North Carolina where I am, is dramatically different. And I didn't want to limit people's ability to get help for their lives and their businesses. And so with my core value of accessibility, I created a sliding scale payment system in my business. So depending on your income, there's a different fee level for the exact same services, okay? So that's how I express my core value of accessibility. I also have a core value of acceptance, okay? So again, think about your core values. These may not be yours, but I'm just sharing mine. And this again is in that category of DNA or your wiring. So acceptance for me means non-judgment. It means that I have this platform where people can just vomit what's on their mind, no matter how controversial they may believe it is, and we sift through it together. So I just accept what's there. The same is true in my personal life, and that's the other thing, is that your DNA and your wiring and your core values show up in your entire life, not just your work. This is why I say how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So acceptance is another one of my core values. Another one is presence. So I happen to believe that when I'm relating with a human being, whether it's the barista at the Starbucks or whether it's a client, that presence is the most cherished gift that I can give. It doesn't cost a cent. All it takes is my focus and my interest in human beings, and I can reach so many people that way. I really believe in that. I feel like that is an important gift that we all have access to. Another core value is efficiency. I like things, I don't like to redo things. I like efficient things. So if I am working at home one day, I'm going to let the sink fill up with dishes as I eat throughout the day, and I'm going to wash them once, or I'm going to put them in the dishwasher once. I'm not going to do it continuously because I think it's more efficient that way. That's, again, just me. That's my wiring. Another one of my core values is ease. I don't believe that life should be hard. I think you can have ease. And so I look for places to find comfort and ease and joy and pleasure. And that's how I'm wired. So those are some of my examples. So one of the exercises you can take from this class is to really identify that DNA. I can't help but, that's one exercise. Fill in the blank. I can't help but do this, do that, do this. And then my core values, some of what I shared were mine. So go ahead and look at your own core values. Now, as we shift to talk about the BS, so I do that because I think I'm funny. At least I'm a legend in my own mind. So the acronym of BS means something else, as we all know. But I love using it for belief systems. Now, there are some belief systems that are going to be serving you and some that aren't. And some of them you're conscious of and some of them you aren't. And so it's important to be really loving when we kind of enter the second realm of the BS or the belief systems. What operating systems are at play in your beingness right now that are informing your choices? And that's what really BS is all about, is to be able to look at that and say, Now, one of the things I say jokingly is, well, we used to believe in Santa Claus and we used to believe in the Easter Bunny. And sorry if I'm speaking out of school and you didn't know that, but we can change our belief systems if we choose. And so when you go through this BS exercises that I'm going to share with you, I want you to be able to, even if you're doing this yourself, especially if you're doing it with and for another person, is to be really loving about what you discover. So make sure that you approach it in a way that's really curious. All right, hold on. Let me check I need to mute somebody here. Somebody's typing away, so she must be taking notes. So thank you for that. I just muted somebody. Okay, back to the course. So the ability to accept and really be interested and curious about the belief systems that are at play inside of you is key, because self-judgment isn't good for you either. So if you say, oh gosh, when I walk down the street and I see a person of color and I feel afraid, you might feel judgment or shame around that, but I'm inviting you to go, oh, isn't that curious? Why do I feel that way? And so that's, I'm going to tell you about the 5 whys exercise in a minute, but the 5 whys will help you get behind that. Okay, I just muted that person again. So I have someone here, M. Bidding, whomever you are, I just muted you because I keep hearing you come through on the recording. So so just make a note of that to stay muted on your audio. So thanks so much for that. Okay, hold on, let me reduce that. All right, so be loving and curious and give yourself that platform of acceptance as you move through it. So your belief system, now some of you know that I love Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book called Start With Why, and he calls your why your purpose, cause, or belief, okay? And so this kind of concept is out there, so to speak, in the world, but it really is the reason behind it. So the exercise of the 5 whys will help you get behind the reason why you have a certain belief, okay? Now, here's how I start with my clients. And by the way, if you want this worksheet from me, just email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com. I have a very simple worksheet with what I'm getting ready to say to you on it. And you can print it off and write in it or type into it or whatever. It's just a Word document, very simple. So email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com if you want the worksheet, and just put the word worksheet in the subject line, and I'm just going to email it to you. I'm not a huge, I don't have everything all wired technology-wise, so I will just email you this worksheet. So when I start with my these belief exercises with my clients, I have a category called belief statement. I also have a category called your purpose statement, and then a category called your legacy statement. And so I started with that approach because when I came from corporate, you hear a lot about mission, vision, values, right? Mission, vision, values. And so, sorry that, I don't know why the mute keeps coming off of you, whoever you are embedding on the call. The mute keeps coming off. So if you can keep your mute on, do your best to do that for me. I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much. Okay, so so belief, purpose, legacy for me is a different way to look at mission, vision, values, because as a human, the corporate approach doesn't really work so well, but this is a way to get started. So again, that's the worksheet that I'll send you, is belief, purpose, legacy statements. Now, I'm going to focus on the belief statements because these are this wiring, this operating system that we have. And I break it down into 4 categories. One is, what do you believe about people in general? Okay, so if you're taking notes, the first question under belief is, what do I believe about people in general? Now, my belief about people in general is, I happen to believe that people do the very best that they can at any given point in time. Okay? That's my belief system about people. Now, I had one client, when I asked her what her belief was about people, she said to me that she believes that they try to get whatever they can from her. Okay. So again, in a non-judgment way, I was able to move her through that belief system so we could find the origin through the 5 whys. So when she said that, I believe people try to get whatever they can from you. Oh, well, why do you believe that? Why do you believe that? And why do you believe that? So make sure you go through 5 iterations of the whys based on the answer from the prior why, so that you can take yourself a little deeper into your belief system. And then when you get to that point, so for example, with that client, if we got to that point because, let's say in her childhood, she always had people taking advantage of her, well, now we know that that's where the belief system has arrived from. And as an adult, she now can be more aware. If she's feeling like people are trying to take advantage of her, she can now make a different choice. So a lot of our belief systems were implanted in us as children. And the reason that happens is that we are dependent on that household or that family of origin for our basic needs. And so as children, whether they are spoken or not, we know internally that we've got to survive, and so we will allow that to be implanted in us, so to speak. So these seeds of belief systems are often at play in our adult lives from our childhood. But now as adults, we aren't dependent on others for our basic needs, and we can make different choices when we're faced with some of these belief systems. So as you move through the whys, the 5 whys exercise, you can begin to look at why that belief system is there. And if you saw that it was implanted in your childhood for some reason, then you can make a difference. You can make a different choice in your adulthood now that you aren't dependent on someone else. Okay, so do the 5 whys and then move yourself through until you get to at least what you think for now is that origin of that belief system. And then ask yourself, well, do I believe this today? Number 1. And number 2, if not, how can I shift this belief system? Okay, now I'm going to give you another tool at the end of the class today about shifting the belief system. the other thing that happens is that when you move through the 5 whys, and if you get through to this final reason or belief system, you can also ask this question. Instead of saying, how can I shift this belief? You can also say, whose belief is this? Right? Whose is this? And when you get to that, often what I find in my clients is that that belief system was their parents' belief system. And their parents' belief system sometimes were their parents' belief system, because that's how they were raised. And so there's also an element of ancestral lineage belief systems that happen with us today. But again, as independent adults, we can now make different choices about what we choose to believe. So we can make belief system changes like that and just say, I don't believe that anymore. Okay? So let me give you one quick example. Some of you know that I use law of attraction kind of principles in my work. And so I used to say, like, there was a time when I didn't even know about law of attraction, right? And then as I come down, now I know a little bit more. I saw The Secret, so I had some ideas about that. Then as I got into my more spiritual quest, I understood some spiritual aspects to law of attraction or metaphysics. And I used to say that the law of attraction has the word action in it. Okay, so you can't just sit on the sofa and eat bonbons and expect the law of attraction to work on your behalf. That used to be my belief system. Well, let me tell you that that's, this might be 8th grade, this might be 10th grade. Well, now my 12th grade belief system about that is, yes, in fact, the law of attraction works on your behalf, even if you're sitting on the sofa eating bonbons. Because what I believe now is that it's really your vision and your vibration that's the resonance to the universe, not only action, we want action, okay? So for some of you who were on my call about ditching the plan and embracing the flow, you got a little bit of that belief system of where I am now. So you may be on the spectrum, somewhere in 8th grade or 10th grade. So it isn't about being more spiritual, less spiritual. It's really about what you're ready for and what you are ready to adopt next, because you're always in choice. You can always choose these belief systems no matter where you are on that spectrum, okay? So just understand that not only do you have these belief systems implanted from childhood often for the reasons that I cited earlier, but your parents and their parents and their parents had belief systems as well. So you have this whole lineage that's informed how you were raised. And as an independent adult today, you get to choose what you believe or not. So you ask yourself, in addition to the 5 whys exercise, another exercise once you get to that 5th why or more, keep going if you need to keep going. But at that final point, you say, whose belief system is this? So let me give you another example of belief system. When I was raised by a military family. Both my parents were in the Army. Yes, my mother wore combat boots. And so we had a household that had values of discipline, compliance, all of this. So we did have chores, and we were paid for, if we did our chores, we were paid. But what happened was, when we got our money, our allowance, we weren't allowed to keep it. We had to give 10% to the church. We were Catholic. We were raised Catholic. So we tithed 10% to the church, and the rest of it went into a savings account. So unbeknownst to me, that's just what we did. I didn't know any different, okay? But now as an adult, when I started exploring my money story really hardcore a handful of years ago, I unveiled the fact that I believed that when I got money, it wasn't mine. I wasn't supposed to keep the money I earned. That was a belief system I adopted. The other thing that I learned was that money wasn't for fun, right? So we weren't able to use the money for fun. We got the money, but it had to go somewhere else. So I carried this belief system around, the fact that money wasn't mine. So guess how that informed my money story my whole life? Every time I earned something, I just kept socking it away. Like I just kept saving it. And I'm not going to say I never did anything with it, but my overarching belief system that was operating within my being was that. And I have shifted that today. Okay, so those are the two exercises to know. Now, depending on your belief system, this may or may not resonate with you, but if you believe in past lives, we can also have and bring forward past life belief systems. So I'm not going to go there today because I'm not an expert on it, but I work with people who help show me those things, and then I can address them and change them if I want. So here's an example I want to give you too about belief systems. So in that childhood experience, that I mentioned, what if two children, let's call them twins, in the same family were abused, okay? Physically abused or emotionally abused. And then as they grow up, one of them says, I'm never going to abuse anybody ever because I was abused. Okay, that's one choice that twin made. The other twin might go on to continue the cycle of abuse, okay, because that's how they were raised. So they're only behaving in a way that they were taught to behave. So I won't want to say something wrong with it because they aren't necessarily knowing that they're in that cycle of abuse. But the same twin or different twin in the same household could make that choice to say, I'm never going to abuse anybody ever because I was abused. How does that happen? It's choice, okay? So going back to the top of the call, when I said how you do anything is how you do everything, the belief system string that I'm taking you down now is about choice. The other one, your DNA, how you're wired, your core values, aren't things that can be changed because it's who you are. It's the imprint, it's your thumbprint, it's how you were operating in this world. So remember, belief systems are all about choice, and you can change them at any time. Okay, I'm just going to check my notes real quick. Okay, great. So in that worksheet that I told you about earlier, so again, email me, Christine@ChristineClifton.com, put worksheet in the subject line if you would like the worksheet. Under beliefs, what are your core beliefs about people? That's the first thing I ask. Another one, now make this list for yourself. So I want you to do the 5 whys exercise on this. And I also want you to ask the question, whose belief is this? Okay. The second one is work. What do you believe about work? Okay. So whether you're in a career or whether you own your business. So one of my belief systems about work was you have to work hard. Work is hard. That was one of my core belief systems. And that came from my family of origin. So when I asked those 5 whys, I got to the point where, why do you have to work hard? Well, my parents. That was, whose is it? It was my parents. My parents told me that you have to work hard or that work is hard. So when I brought that into my adult independent being, I said, does it have to be hard? Do I have to work hard? And what, in fact, does that mean to me? Right? So I get to ask myself that question is, what does that mean to me? And do I subscribe to that? Now, you heard earlier that one of my core values is ease. So I happen to believe that work doesn't have to be hard as long as we're aligning with our sacred purpose, whatever that is, in your career or your business. I believe that I'm only going to act in inspired action. So when I act in inspired action because it's aligned with my calling, purpose, etc., then it's not hard. It's easy. Now, it may take a lot of work, or I might have to do a lot of actions, but it doesn't feel hard. It's not burdensome. Okay, so people, work, and then what is your belief about God, religion, spirituality, the universe, whatever? That's all clumped into one question. What are your beliefs? Why do you believe that? Again, you heard that I was raised Catholic. So there was a certain belief system that I grew up with. Now, I was actually raised in what I will now today call a progressive Catholic church, which might sound like an oxymoron. So I was actually raised with a liberal bend to Catholicism. But when I really began to ask myself, what do I believe about metaphysics? What do I believe about spirituality, God, the universe, all of these things? I can follow that 5 whys and then at the end of it say, whose is it? Like, is it somebody else's or is it really mine? Is it mine? Yes. then what do I want to do with it? Do I want to keep it or do I want to lump it, right? Ditch it. And you can. And again, I'm going to give you some tools at the end on clearing that or helping you ditch belief systems. Okay, so that's the worksheet. If you want the worksheet, that's the belief part of the worksheet. There's also purpose statements and legacy statements on that worksheet. So if you want the worksheet, just email me. Okay, so you might hear in the spiritual and personal growth realm about stories, the stories you make up, okay, for yourself. So that's also that's a way to look at the flag or to look at a flag of a belief system. So you might even say, how do I know I have an unserving belief system? So again, it helps to have an outside eyeballs and ears looking in. But if you're doing this work just for yourself, one of the flags is to listen to the stories that you tell yourself. So for example, if you're walking down the street in New York City and there's a homeless person who's asking for money and you decide you're not going to give them money, why not? What story have you told yourself about homeless people in general or that homeless person specifically that has made you decide not to give them money? Okay, that is one. So what's the story behind it? Why? What's the story behind it? So it might be, oh, I think they're going to buy alcohol with it, so I'm not going to, or I won't give them money, but I will take them to the CVS and buy them socks or buy them whatever they need in the CVS. Okay, fine. Or you might say, I'm not going to give them money, but I'm going to buy them food so that they can have food because you don't want them to use the money for alcohol. Okay, so do you see where this goes? And again, I want you to be very loving, non-judgmental, and accepting of yourself when you start to unlayer these belief systems. Now, it could be something as like social justice in that way, but let me tell you this one thing that happened the other day. There is a hair product that I use on my curly hair that I found out about years ago, and I loved it. And then when I went to buy it again, I couldn't find it. They discontinued my hair product. So somewhere I found a bunch of bottles and I bought them all. Well, I'm on my last bottle. Okay, so you might be going, why are you talking about hair products, Christine? But this is belief system stuff. It's everywhere. How you do anything is how you do everything. So I'm using the hair product, and I had a thought, gosh, how hard it's going to be so hard to find a replacement product when I'm out of this hair product. And I immediately went, oh my God, look at that story. Look at the story. How hard is it going to be to find something equitable? Well, what if it were easy? I wonder what it would be like to find a new product on the market today that's even better than the hair product I'm using today. What would it take to find that product? So I immediately caught myself in that belief system. So what informs, oh my gosh, it's going to be so hard to find a replacement hair product, okay? So these are the flags that you can use for yourself when you hear yourself giving a reason for something. You can catch yourself in the moment and go, why do I believe that? Okay. The second way to catch yourself is a judgment. Now, I gave you that example of the homeless person, but I don't want to say you're judging somebody like they're doing something wrong, judging, but drawing a conclusion or making a judgment. It might even be about homelessness. Oh, why aren't they working harder to get a job so they don't have to be homeless? Might be a judgment. So that's the second thing you can do to catch yourself in a belief system, and then explore it through the 5 whys, explore it through the whose belief system is this, and be able to say, do I want to shift this belief system? The second thing to say is to return it to sender. So again, I'm going to give you those tools at the end. So those are 2 ways you can catch yourself. Is there a story behind it? And are you judging something? So when you hear a story or you hear yourself making a judgment, stop, explore it, and then ask if you want to shift it. Okay, let me give you a few more examples so that we can then move into the tools, okay? All right, so when I closed my wellness studio in 2011, February 2011, I'd only been open a year. I was closing the door on the studio and immediately deciding what it was I was going to do next. Okay. When I did that, I have a history of chronic illness. And so when I started thinking about what I wanted to do next, I started feeling really heavy, tired, exhausted, quite honestly. So what I decided to do, against all odds or against all logic, was I decided to go on sabbatical. Now, for me, sabbatical was a month. And I'd asked myself where I always wanted to go, and I decided to go to Sedona. And so I booked a cabin off of Oak Creek in Sedona for 3 weeks. And on the 4th week, I visited family that I had in Flagstaff and in Phoenix. And so I spent the most delicious 3 weeks in that cabin on Oak Creek. Some days I didn't leave the cabin. Other days I was climbing Cathedral Rock in Sedona. Now this, again, somebody with chronic illness. When I got back the next month, I went to see my holistic health coach, and she did an assessment on me. And she said, "Oh my God, Christine, what have you been doing? Your results are the best results that I've ever seen of you." And I said, "I just came off a sabbatical." And she said, "Well, you've got to do more of that." And I laughed in her face. I said, "What do you mean I've got to do more of that? I have got to earn money. I have got to either find a job or start another business." I just thought it was so ludicrous that for her to say that to me, to do more sabbatical. How is that sustainable? Okay, at least that was my belief system at the time. So I got really angry that I had to be on sabbatical in order to be healthy, right? Well, I look at myself today. I showed you guys the marina out there where I'm living today. Today, I am living the life of a sabbatical while I still have clients. So I am eating well. I am creating a schedule that serves me. I have appointment times that are within the realm of how I want to work. I have aligned my outer world with who I am. And so today, if someone were to say, go on sabbatical so that you can be healthy, I would say, I'm already doing it and I'm working, and I don't need a sabbatical to feel that way. So that's one example I wanted to give you. The other one I want to give you, and remember, I'm not a spiritual teacher. I give you my experiences because I can share as a way shower better than to say you should be doing this. So I want you to really listen to what I'm sharing today and decide what works for you, what resonates for you. So the last example I'm going to give you are these classes that you're in right now. So when I first offered these classes, I offered them for a fee, and then I offered a special price as a package. Why did I do that? I did it because there's a marketing model out there for coaches, consultants, practitioners, teachers, trainers, mentors, that you have to lead people down a path and then offer them something next, okay? And I sold myself on that belief system, on that model, that I needed to do these paid classes because somebody that I took a class from said, never ever offer free classes. It undervalues you. That was his belief system. I took on his belief system. And so I offered these classes and no one was signing up. And so I knew better than to say, ditch all of it. I needed to go in and check in, what is my belief system? So I went within and I really saw that I had bought the model of that marketing. And I said, does that resonate with me? Does that marketing model resonate with me? I said to myself, no. Why shouldn't everybody have this knowledge that I have, right? Why shouldn't I offer it as a gift to people? And that's why now I did a pivot and I changed all the classes to be free classes. So now, like I said at the beginning, before I actually started recording this one, and I know I'm recording it now, but this is why I'm recording the pure content, because, okay, now what can I do with it? I'm now going to take the content and be able to offer these classes to people ongoing because I'm now recording them. So doesn't that contribute to me? And doesn't that contribute to others? It sure does. And with my future classes, I have a class on finding your voice. I have a class on the art of asking. I have a class on building bridges, and I have a class on the spirit of money. Now that spirit of money class, I want to encourage you all to sign up for, because there's so much connected to money and around this value. So especially if you're running a business, then it's a really key class to attend. So when I released my attachment to that belief system that I have to lead people where I want to take them, when I had announced the free classes, I also, at the same time, announced that I'm doing a class in February called Falling in Love with Your Business Again, right? So instead of being subversive to lead people in through these classes and then say, and buy my stuff, I'm on the front end saying, I have these free classes and I'm offering this paid class called Falling in Love with Your Business for $100. So I just want to be transparent. If you want to sign up, sign up. And if you want to don't. Okay. So that is how I shifted that belief system. All right. So let me then take you into some other tools, because remember earlier I said, if you find out you have this belief system, you can shift it or you can return it to sender if it's not yours. Okay. So you have the 5 whys. Why? You just keep asking yourself why. At the end, also ask, is it yours or not? Now, I do a practice called returning to sender, okay? And my friend Jennifer Urezzio taught me one, and then there's something from Access Consciousness, that's another. So when you find it's not your belief system, a practice or a tool you can use is returning it to sender with love, okay? That's my Jennifer Urezzio model. I'll also email you the mantra if you want the mantra emailed to you. So, so the mantra is about looking within and realizing or wondering if this is something that, it's also good for energy clearing, actually. So the mantra is about return. I can't remember it in this moment. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. So if you want the mantra, email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com so I can remember it and send it off to you. But it's a mantra about returning it to sender with love and grace. So you can just do that energetically, is say, oh, it's not mine, then I'm returning it to sender with love and grace. The other one is from Access Consciousness. So if you realize that a belief system isn't yours and you want to return it to sender, and you want to return it to sender and use the Access Consciousness clearing statement. So you can look that up if that resonates for you. I'll also put that in the email to you if you want. But the clearing statement is good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, if your eyes are bouncing on your head hearing that, that's actually a good sign, because the Access Consciousness clearing statement is designed to go to the root of the belief system where it was implanted and do away with it, the point of creation, and bust it, okay? So you can either look at theclearingstatement.com, I think it's .com or .org, or email me and I'll give you the clearing statement. So you can return it to sender and then do the clearing statement. But you can also do the clearing statement if you find you want to shift that belief system. Now, part of the Access Consciousness work is when you move away a belief system, you want to replace it with something that serves you better, okay? So if my belief system is, just like I did earlier about my hair gel, that's a good example. So as nominal as that might be in the whole scheme of world peace, my hair gel, but if I believe it's going to be hard to find a replacement hair gel and I want to pod poc that belief system or point of creation, point of destruction belief system with the clearing statement, then I want to bring in what it is that I want to replace it with, okay? So the actualization questions, as I like to call them, with Access Consciousness come into play. I wonder what it would be like to find the replacement hair gel with ease and grace, okay? I wonder what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to find a replacement hair gel with ease and grace, okay? So those questions call in the possibilities of the universe and help you shift that belief system, okay? So that's how you return to sender or clear that belief system using that clearing statement, either Jennifer's clearing mantra, which I don't know why I can't remember in this moment. just email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com and I'll send it to you. Or use the Access Consciousness clearing statement, and you just go to theclearingstatement.com. Okay, so in true form, I've gone long. I can't even see the clock. I guess it's almost 1:45. So I'm going to wind down the recording and turn the recording off. And those of you who are on the call can either unmute yourself or you can type in the chat. So if you activate your cursor on your computer, you will see an option for typing into the chat room. So you can type into the chat room. Now, those of you watching the recording, obviously you can't do that, but those of you who are live can. So as I wrap up the recording, I want to thank you for joining me for Busting the BS with Christine Clifton of Mindful Business Matters. You can find out more about me at mindfulbusinessmatters.com. You can go to my Facebook group called You Don't Have to Shout to Stand Out and ask to join my closed Facebook group where I show up with a lot of these concepts as well. Or you can even friend me on Facebook at Christine Clifton. I'm also on LinkedIn under the same name, and I'm on Twitter at No Shout Stand Out. So I'm going to turn off the recording, and then I'm going to welcome any questions.